All right, everybody. How are we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Robbie Basel Show. Today is December 15th. It's almost Christmas time. And just giving you guys a warning right now, this is the last episode of the calendar year that I'm doing in my dorm. So you will not see the dorm in the next episode because I am actually going home tomorrow, which is great. It'll be much more fun to do content back at my house. Also, I'm going to try and bring some guests during break, some of my college friends from either possibly Iona, possibly from some other bigger schools. Hopefully that happens. I have an idea. I just got to hope it executes. That's the way I'm going to put it. But we have a lot to talk about today, from the Champions League chaos from this week to the Premier League for this weekend, the NFL and the chaos from last night, as well as the situation with the Dodgers after they just made a big time trade. And there's actually some other notes with officiating. That's what we're starting with today. And I'm going to start with this. I know people every day in sports or whatever complain about officiating. I've talked about officiating multiple times on this channel, other channels, other podcasts. And there's an incident that I'm gonna bring up because it happened. We officially got a word on what happened for the follow up from this incident. So we're going to Turkey, and I don't talk about the Turkish league really at all, other than Galatasaray from Champions League videos. But a referee by the name of, I'm hopefully saying this right, Halil Umit Meller. That's the best I'm gonna get at that. I'm sorry if I said it wrong. He was punched in the face by a former president of top flight Turkish club Ankara. I'm not saying that right. Ankaragücü. And the president who punched the referee has been banned from football for life following his attack on the official. According to the TFF, which is the Turkish Football Federation. That was released actually today, so perfect time to talk about this. And listen, some officials are bad, some are good. You have to admit that. It's a human job. It's like every other job that humans do. They're never going to be perfect. Yet people believe that officials in every sport are going to be perfect. That's what it's literally in some of these rule books. Human error is a real thing, even at the top levels of officiating. I say when I'm a referee doing like a U15s game or whatever, saying that like I can't see everything. There will be stuff that is missed, and that is very true. If you're expecting to get every call in every sport, it's never going to be perfect. It can get close to perfect, but people aren't perfect. Like I said, they can be close to it. But at the end of the day, this is what happens. This is why people don't want to become officials. Because I know people personally that can be very good referees. I really do. I do know a couple. And this is why people don't want to be referees, as when they see incidents like this happen. Granted, it's in Turkey, thousands of miles away from the U.S., but referees get heckled a lot across the globe, and I don't think many people want to become officials. I do because I love the beautiful game and just want to stay part of it. Besides being a broadcaster for Iona, but not what happened. What has happened here? I think some coaches and some higher officials, not just in Turkey, around Europe, some coaches in the USA who love to heckle officials. I can call some out personally, but I'm not going to do that. Should really take a good look at themselves in the mirror and say, wow, this happens at the top level of the game, and they can get banned for life. Even if it's something that small, this should be a warning to people to not go out and complain about the referees, because this is what can happen. Like when they're complaining about calls and they get this mad about stuff, this is what can happen. You go out and impulsively go out and punch a referee, and they get banned for life. Just wanted to bring that up. And speaking of officiating, we're actually going to get some new refs in the Premier League this week. And I'm going to quickly talk about that because we're going to have the first woman center referee, I believe, Rebecca Welch. She's doing Fulham against Burnley. And Sam Allison, who's the first black referee in 15 years to be involved in top flight game, following footsteps of Uri Rennie. I don't remember what games he's doing. Let me just pull it up real quick on my phone. I do not remember what game he's doing. I also believe, yes, they're taking place starting up in a week on the 23rd. I believe the other guy is doing. I actually don't know. I thought it was Sheffield, but I don't think so. If you take a look at this article by ESPN on this, Sam Allison is doing. Oh, he's doing a game on Boxing Day. You have Sheffield and Luton Town, being ref by EFL Championship referee Sam Allison. So I'm interested to see how they do. I'm very intrigued by this. I know Allison's pretty solid. Rebecca Welch, I've actually never heard of her before. So maybe more people could possibly tune into Fulham and Burnley to see how she does. I'm very intrigued. I want to see how good they both are. But according to referees chief Howard Webb, had a lot of good comments to say about Rebecca. He says Rebecca is a really calm, focused individual on the field. She does command a lot of respect in a pretty understanding way. She's a good reading of the game. She's an accurate decision maker, a good athlete on the field as well. So, I mean, you might as well try it out. When the officials have not been very good in the Premier League this year. Welsh was also selected for the Women's World Cup, so let's see how she does. But Allison, a former player at Swindon, Bristol, Bournemouth, and Exeter, and he also played in the non-league pyramid. But he started a career in refereeing. He became the third black referee to be appointed to the EFL, which is like the Championship League 1 and League 2, after two other black referees were in the championship before. Allison was also a former firefighter. Shout out to this dude. But I'm intrigued. I know from what I've seen, Webb added that both Rebecca and Sam are part of there was like a development group last year, and then they went through a selection process, and listen, they gave good performances in the championship, and the championship is actually very physical, so I'm interested to see if they can take advantage of the opportunity. So shout out to them. It's great to see different new referees getting into the Premier League, get someone with a decent reputation. I'm interested to see how it looks, and hopefully we can give them some high praise next week. That's the idea. So, quick update as well. Monday, I think I'm going to do a full Champions League recap from the group stage because the draw for the knockouts is Monday. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to do a full recap of the group stage on Monday. That's Monday's video with a preview of the round of 16. And I'm going to break down what possible predictions I could have. I don't know how I'm fully going to do it yet, but I think that's going to be Monday's video. So, and back at my own house. So it's going to be very fun. But we'll just give some quick notes from the games from this week. So starting it off, we're going to go back to Tuesday because we're going to go in order of what everything happened. So we have Tuesday. We had Group B, because they were the early session. PSV won, Arsenal won. I'm not really concerned. Arsenal weren't playing many starters. Eddie Nketiah scored, and then Verstessen got one past Aaron Ramsdale, though Aaron Ramsdale made a phenomenal save with the right hand. He looked decent. The Arsenal backups, they didn't look terrible. Kind of you were expecting, but that result from PSV was actually very impactful because Lens went out and beat Sevilla 2-1. Courtesy of a 96th minute penalty winner from Fulgini. Sorry, a 96th minute winner because both teams had a penalty before. We had Frankowski and Ramos, Sergio Ramos convert penalties, and then Fulgini went out and got grabbed all 3 points for Lens. They are going to the Europa League. Sevilla, the Europa League merchants, are out of Europe. That's not the only big team that is not in European competitions, European continental competitions anymore. It's one of multiple. So big props to Lens. I didn't expect them to get this far, but man, there are some story. I also didn't expect Arsenal to win this group, so that happened. Before I talk about the chaotic groups, we'll go into a group. Let's go to the group at Real Madrid. We'll go to Group C. It had some very interesting results. First off, props to Real Madrid. They went to Germany. They played Union Berlin. Union Berlin actually looked good for the first 45 minutes. They had a 1-0 lead at the break. But then Joselu put up a brace. Crawlin scored the equalizer. And then Ceballos got the winner for Real Madrid. 18 points in 6 matches for Real Madrid. They went out and won the group. Heartbreak for Union Berlin. Winless in the competition. But Braga went out and got the Europa League spot because Union Berlin lost. It didn't really matter what they did against Napoli. But Napoli and Real Madrid advancing out of Group C. So, listen, I think Napoli with a favorable draw can make it to like the semifinals, but they're going to need to get a very favorable draw because Napoli, I don't know about them, but playing on the road in Naples is very difficult. So, and they showed it by beating Braga 2-0. Benfica. Oh, God. This one broke my heart a little bit because I love Salzburg. You know, Red Bull Salzburg had what I was expecting from them somewhat. Real Sociedad really shocked me. They went out and won their group, so Arsenal could possibly get Inter, so that's very scary. But Benfica, because of them having more goals, and they went out, and I think head-to-head possibly had an impact as well. They went out to Salzburg in Austria and won 3-1. Their only win got them into the Europa League knockouts. Because if you look at the Europa League knockouts, I just want to make sure of this. Round of 32 draw. So the draws are all on Monday. It's going to be absolute chaos. And so, yeah, we mentioned, so Benfica is here. We mentioned Braga. And I mentioned Lens. Shout out to Benfica. They went out and won a very valuable match and stay in Europe. I did not expect that out of Benfica, especially on the road. Salzburg's not easy to beat in Austria, but shout out to Salzburg. Heartbreak for them. I really thought they deserved to make the Europa League. Now to the chaos. Starting us off, we had Manchester United 0, Bayern 1 to kick out Manchester United. I called it in the previous video, in the preview video, because I said United were not making the knockouts. What I didn't expect was that United needed to finish bottom. That's nuts. And they did not look very good in this match. Højlund's been awful for them. 5 total shots against Bayern. A Bayern team that is like kind of suspect. Interesting. Bayern scored 1 goal in their last 2 matches against United and Copenhagen. Excuse me, it's Copenhagen, not Copenhagen. Because Copenhagen's where the game's played. But Copenhagen, more on them in a second. But Bayern, deserving win. They went to Old Trafford and won 1-0. Kingsley Coman grabbed the only goal, but somewhat heartbreak, yet a lot of karma for United. Because if you remember when the draw came out, a lot of United fans were really underestimating Copenhagen and Galatasaray. They paid the price for it. So United bottom, they can actually now focus on the league, even though they're not playing very well in the league. So interested to see how that looks. So then all eyes were set to Denmark. Copenhagen taking on Galatasaray. The winner, if there was one, would go to the Champions League knockouts. If they drew, Copenhagen would go to the knockouts. And it's heartbreak for Galatasaray as Larager, I don't know how you say it, Lucas Larager scores in the 58th minute. Copenhagen, I don't think many people expected this one, advanced to the round of 16 of the Champions League. And listen, first of all, tons of props to them. Because the money you get for making this round is absurd. This is actually going to be very impactful for them in the long run because of how much money and the parachute payments that you're going to get from, I think that's the right term, just the money you get. You make a ton of money for making the Champions League group stage. It's a lot more when you make the knockouts. Big props to Copenhagen. They have advanced to the Champions League knockouts, finishing second on 8 points. My prediction was Bayern, then Galatasaray, then United, then Copenhagen. It turns out to be Bayern, then Copenhagen, then Galatasaray, then Manchester United. So I did say Man United was going to finish behind Galatasaray, but yeah, a lot of fun groups. But that was just getting your feet wet for what happened on Wednesday. Starting us off, we had Red Star. Look, not terrible against the City reserve players. Micah Hamilton, who I've never heard of before, opened the scoring, and then it was, how do you say his name? Oscar Bob, that's what we're calling him today. Scored an In-Buom Huang, and then Calvin Phillips scored a penalty, and then Katai scored for Red Star, but Red Star, very disappointing performance from Red Star. They got one draw. It was against Young Boys. Young Boys won the return leg, and there you go. Red Star going out with a whimper, despite Belgrade being very hard to play in. They got 1 point in six matches. Leipzig went out and beat Young Boys in a meaningless game, 2-1. So it was City and then Leipzig, which is what I predicted. I don't think I expected Young Boys to finish ahead of. Let me just check, because I have my predictions here. Did I expect that to happen? No, I had Young Boys win one match and then Red Star win two of them. So I think I did have. I had a Red Star beating Leipzig. Oh, Jesus. Can't wait for Monday's video. That's going to be probably the most funny video I post until year review. I might do year review. I don't know. I think it might be too cringy, but we'll see. Because that just came off the top of my head. This got interesting, though. We're going to head next to group. What group letter is this? You forget when you've done this for too long. We have Group E. And Feyenoord just choked it. And I'm saying that lightly. Feyenoord, who I had winning this group, choked it. And Lazio, who I had bottom, made the knockouts. I talked about that last week. But because of a certain result, Celtic went out and got a win. Listen, I said they were going to. The problem is I said Celtic was going to get one loss and 4 draws. It turns out they got 4 losses and 1 draw. So if you flip the 4 and the 1, you would have gotten the actual right, like the correct record, which would actually have been very interesting. But I had Athletic. That's really interesting. I had Atletico Madrid's goal difference where I put like for Celtic. Nah, this is actually going to be funny. That video is going to be so funny. But then Atletico Madrid went out and won the group, beating Lazio by a score of 2-0. Atletico Madrid and Lazio advanced to the Champions League knockouts. To a group that I was really focusing on, starting it off. Did I have this as this result? I had it as a draw. We had Royal Antwerp beating Barcelona. I don't know. I don't know. I was so good at making these predictions in the beginning, and then towards the end, it just fell off. Because Antwerp, who I predicted to draw Barcelona, beat Barcelona. 3-2. Barcelona goes out with 4 wins and 2 losses and 0 draws, which I had them at 4 wins, a draw, and a loss. Not bad. I think I was only 1 point off for Barcelona. Gotta give me some credit there. But what I didn't expect was the run of form from Shakhtar Donetsk. I said it would be close between them and Porto, and it was to the very end. Final score from that one, Porto 5, Shakhtar 3. This one was so fun to watch. I was able to watch the end of this. You had Galeno score brace, Matty Taremi. You had Pepe Conceição. I think it's Conceição? I don't know. Sikan Estaquia had an own goal from Porto to keep Shakhtar in it. And Equinaldo scored for Shakhtar as well. An 8-goal thriller in Portugal since Porto threw once again to the Champions League knockouts. And I mean, I had this group right where I expected it. Barca, then Porto, then Shakhtar, then Antwerp. Is pretty much exactly where I had it. And now for the fun stuff. The group of death. And, well, I had one team right. I had it with an accurate position. I also had them with the same amount of points. Not the goal difference, though. It's kind of heartbreaking. I had Newcastle with the correct record and points. You gotta give me some credit for this, chat. Nah, it's wild. Goal differences from the other ones were actually kind of close. PSG's was 1 off. Dortmund, I had them at -1. So, and they had +3. Kind of hate to see it. But my group prediction was AC Milan, then PSG, then Dortmund, then Newcastle. Newcastle did finish bottom. They lost to AC Milan. So that means AC Milan needed PSG to lose by, I think a couple of goals. Yeah, they needed to lose by 3. And then PSG just went out and I believe, they just went out, drew Dortmund away. Dortmund and PSG advanced to the Champions League knockouts. A Dortmund team that, like I said last time, I don't think many people expected to make the Champions League knockouts. I mean, I really was high on AC Milan, led by Leao, Giroud, Hernandez, Manyan in goal. They had a very solid group. I'm probably missing a couple of key players. Pulisic, of course, my guy. But, yeah, I mean, that's the Champions League. The group stage is done. And to break down the full knockouts, you're going to have to wait till Monday because the draw happens. If you're going to watch this draw, then you're going to be losing your mind. I mean, because that draw is at 6 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be interesting. Can't wait for the draw. I'm not going to stream the draw. I was possibly thinking about that, but I'm not waking up that early in the morning to break this down. To the Premier League and all of its beautiful glory. Tottenham's actually playing right now. They're playing Nottingham Forest at the time of this recording. So let's break down the 9 games for the weekend. Starting it off, what are the matches to watch out for? I think it's pretty obvious. Of course, it's Chelsea and Sheffield United. Come on, chat. No, it's not. If I had to pick one, Bournemouth-Luton looks really fun. I think that one's a sleeper. Dominic Solanke has been in great form for Bournemouth. Luton have played well against the good teams in the league. The problem is this one's on the road. Luton's terrible on the road, so I'm going to say Bournemouth probably wins. But I'm expecting Bournemouth to get at least a point. I'm intrigued by Newcastle and Fulham. That's the game I'm watching. If you take a look at this matchup, you have to really consider Fulham as a goal-scoring threat. You look at their last 4 games, they've scored more than 3 goals in each of their last 4 games. How many goals have they conceded in that span? 6, but they have had 2 clean sheets, including scoring 10 goals and allowing 0 in their last 2 games, putting up back-to-back 5-0 performances. Now, the problem here is that they're going on the road. Last time they were on the road against a that's a top 7 team, they played league leaders Liverpool and lost 4-3. A 4-3 result that Fulham led with 10 minutes to go. I think this one's not going to be a pushover for Fulham. I'm going to say Newcastle wins by like 2-1 or 1-0. I think it's going to be much low scoring, a back down to earth moment for Fulham. But listen, it's very possible that Fulham puts up 3 and wins. I think it's very possible. But in a stage like this, I'm really going to bank on Newcastle. They're going to avenge their fans from losing to AC Milan. They've been on a bad run of form, though, which could actually... They haven't won since December 2nd. Could this be the change for Newcastle? They've won twice since Thanksgiving. And they've lost 3 straight. They did lose to Everton. I'm going to scrap that pick. I'm going to say it's a draw. I'm going to go with the draw. Fulham gets a much-needed point to stay in their mix. Man City, I'm expecting a low-scoring affair against Crystal Palace. It is at home, though, so I think it's going to be much easier. Last year, I was actually able to do a mock commentary of Man City and Palace at Crystal Palace when Man City was on the road, and City had to score very late with a penalty. So I think Palace's defense could cause some problems for Man City, but I'm going to say Man City wins by a score of 2-0. Chelsea, Sheffield United, I think this one's going to be very boring, but I do think Chelsea squeak out a 1-0 victory. I think it's a must-win situation for Chelsea. They're playing a bottom-half club. Sheffield, though, gotta give them some props. And is it possible they're on the ups? They're coming up a little bit? Yeah, I mean, they did get ran off the field by Burnley 5-0. But since then, they played a decent match against Liverpool, only losing 2-0. And then they went out and beat a decent side in Brentford. Sheffield does have a very interesting next 2 games. They get Chelsea and Aston Villa away, but then they get Luton. We talked about on Boxing Day, the battle of the relegation teams on Boxing Day. So this is an interesting run for Sheffield. I think Sheffield can squeak out a draw at Stamford Bridge. I'm going to go with Chelsea winning 1-0. And then Burnley, Everton. I think Burnley could possibly come out and get a result. I'm going to say a draw. Everton has looked great recently, and I think both teams look good in this one. I'm going to say a 1-1 or 2-2 draw. And then Sunday's games, oh boy, fun list. Starting off, we have my boys Arsenal taking on Brighton. Now, Brighton are a very interesting case to study, you know. I mean, if you really look at it, they're unbeaten in 5 of their last 6. They just went out and beat Marseille in the Europa League on yesterday. But it took them a while to score, and João Pedro grabbed the goal for Brighton. And for Arsenal, they're going to be much more rested. They didn't play many starters in the game against PSV Eindhoven. It is at the Emirates. I'm going to say Arsenal win this one. I'm expecting another good game from Kai Havertz if he's going to play in this one. If you look at the projected lineups, they don't have that yet. But if you look at the injuries, don't see any big players from Arsenal. I mean, I wanted to see Ansu Fati play for Brighton, but he is injured. Arsenal, I think, are going to win this one by a score of, let's go 2-1 for Arsenal. Brentford, Aston Villa. This is, I think, could be a trap game for Villa. Playing at the community stadium is very tough. Brentford trying to, of course, look much better after their unfortunate L to Sheffield. They did lose to Brighton on the road. Coming back home, they have been able to score goals at home. They've put up 3 each in the last 3 goals in the. They've been able to. They've scored 3 goals in each of their last 3 home matches. I think this could cause some problems for Villa. I'm going to say Brentford keep this close. I'm going to say Brentford draw Aston Villa at the community stadium. Trap game for Villa. Brentford solid at home. I'm going to say this one squeaks out a draw. West Ham in a must-win situation to me. They're playing a team in Wolves, a Wolves team that has struggled defensively, but so has West Ham. West Ham has conceded more goals, but West Ham unbeaten at home. Unbeaten at home in their last 5 home games, but these two have not drawn each other in their last 12 head-to-head contests. I think that goes to 13. We'll talk about that in a second. And yeah, with West Ham being the better goal-scoring team, I'm going to go West Ham winning this one I'm going to say a 3-1 to West Ham. I'm expecting big things to make sure my guy's not injured. Oh, he is injured. I was going to say a big game for Michael Antonio, but he's hurt right now. Look at last game for West Ham. They did lose 5-0 to Fulham. That Fulham team is playing out of their mind. I'm going to go with a big day for Paqueta and Bowen. Of course, you got to go with. I think a goal scorer is going to be. Let's go with Ward-Prowse, Bowen, and Paqueta, because why not? West Ham 3, Wolves 1 is my prediction for that one. And of course, the big game of them all, Liverpool against Manchester United. Listen, I think this one's going to be a back and forth affair, but Liverpool have played so well at Anfield, especially playing against Manchester United. I'm expecting another big one. I'm going to say Liverpool 3, Manchester United 0. Their injuries are really going to haunt them in this one. I think Liverpool will score 3 early and really take the life out of this one early on. I think it's going to be 3 or 4-0 to Liverpool. Expecting big things out of this one from them. And then we have the matchups on Thursday and Friday. We're not going to talk about those matchups. And it's now time to talk about the NFL. And we'll start it off before we do our preview. We'll do the recap from last night. And it was the Las Vegas Raiders 63, the Chargers 21. By the way, you're going to see another link in the description. I was on stream last night picking every college football bowl game with my guy, JJ Seglio. Make sure to check that video out. That stream is actually kind of funny. The end was probably the best one I've been a part. One of my favorite ones that I've been a part of on a stream this year. Let me know if you want him to come on a video here. I'll be intrigued with that. But let's talk about this game because we were actually talking about this on stream. And listen, the Raiders looked so good. They opened with a Zamir White touchdown, then a Trey Tucker catch from Aiden O'Connell, and Aiden O'Connell again throwing to Jacoby Myers. It was 21-0 at the end of the first. Keep it going. Michael Mayer touchdown. Then Trey Tucker pass from Aiden O'Connell. Of course, we had a run from Brandon Bolden as well. 42-0 at the end of the first half. Keep it going. Devontae Adams, 49-0. This is the point of the video. During halftime, I said I was going to predict the 59-7. And we had a chance at 59-7 because Devontae scored. Then Josh Palmer, deep touchdown from Easton Stick. And then John Jenkins, a fumble recovery, got us to 56-7, and I thought I was going to do it. But then a pick six ruined my hopes. Jack Jones pick six, the former Patriot scoring. Then Alex Eckerson and Quentin Johnston scored. Final score, 63-21. The Raiders defense looking really, really solid for the most part. And this game led to the inevitable firing of Brandon Staley, which, good riddance. That's the best way I can put it. I was never a fan of Brandon Staley. The way he's able to just choke games, make bad decisions. You guys remember with last year when Robert Saleh kept his timeouts or whatever, and it cost the Jets the game? This is more of a meme. The Chargers, with a top 5 quarterback in the game, is 5-9. This is what I saw a video today, and the guy who did the video, I don't remember who it was, said it very well. The defensive head coaches are not that good. You can argue Saleh is an okay head coach, even though I predicted him doing coach of the year this year, which is not very good. But Staley got outmatched. A defensive head coach allowing 63 in an NFL game, yeah, you deserve to get fired. Raiders all over the Chargers, keeping themselves somewhat in the playoff hunt. They need to win out to have a chance. Now let's break down the games. Starting off the games on Saturday, because the Saturday games are back. We got 3 interesting matchups. Kicking it off with the Vikings and the Bengals. I think the Vikings, I have no idea who they're starting quarterback this week. Let me just hold on. Is it are they starting Mullins this week? Let me look. Vikings start Nick Mullins. This should be fun. Nick Mullins against Jake Browning. I am going to go, I don't know. I'm going with Jake Browning to continue his great run of form. Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to lose this game and then essentially end the division of the NFC North. That put the Vikings at 7-7, slipping their way back to the pack because this is what happens. I mean, it's a what if season right now for Minnesota. What if they had Jay Jettas healthy all year? What if Kirk Cousins didn't get injured? If Kirk Cousins doesn't get injured, I think the Vikings are winning this division. I think it's very possible. An experienced quarterback in a situation like this would be very valuable to the Minnesota Vikings. But the Vikings, the Packers, and the Bears are all very close to each other now. A slip up here and there could really get one or two or all three in the. Can get the other two in the mix. So I'm interested to see how that game looks. But I think that one's going to be maybe a little bit more of a snooze fest. I think the Bengals win by multiple scores. Steelers, Colts, I'm not expecting very much. I think the Colts are going to win this one. Steelers, they're a mess. They're going to really start falling back to the pack in the AFC. I'm going to go with the Colts winning 21-7. Broncos, Lions. Listen, it's a big game for both of them. Russell Wilson, Jared Goff in Detroit. You know, you'd think to pick the team with the momentum here. The Broncos, they've looked good recently. They've won 4 of 5. They've beaten the Vikings. They've beaten Buffalo. They beat the Browns. They lost to the Texans, and they just went out on the road and beat the Chargers. How they're able to play on the road, I feel like, this season, they have gone, granted, they did allow 70 on the road, and they did lose to Washington. But the way they've just been able to beat down this stretch has been very helpful for the Denver Broncos. Do I think they win this? I don't know. I'm not going to pick this one. I think this game's going to be less than... It's going to be about 3 or less. It's going to be very, very close. It's so hard to pick. Broncos. Next question. Now to the Sunday games. Starting us off with the Giants and the Saints. Listen, to Tommy DeVito. I think Tommy DeVito is going to have another good game here. I don't know if it's going to be enough. The Saints have a lot to play for. Giants are basically out of it. I'm going to go... I think the Giants play spoiler in the Superdome. Give me the Giants by 5. I think the Giants are going to be really going to cause some problems for the New Orleans Saints. I think the Giants' defense is going to look much better. And then the Saints, Derek Carr is going to continue to underperform in some key games, which is going to open the door for the Atlanta Falcons, who I have beating the Carolina Panthers this week, to put the Falcons back on top of the division, because I also have the Packers beating Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, which would put the Atlanta Falcons back with a 1-game lead down the stretch. I think all those games, though, will be decided by less than 7. I think a lot of those games will be close. Arthur Smith really manages too much and really limits parts of the playbook. When you don't limit the playbook, you saw how Desmond Ridder looks. I think this could be a possible trap game for the Falcons, but I think they're going to squeak out a win. Jets-Dolphins, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I think this one's going to be a high-scoring affair, but it's interesting to see because my pick's going to be different. If Tyreek Hill is not playing, I think this will cause some problems for the Dolphins. Because Zach Wilson looked really good last week. And after he played his best game of the year, he had a little bit of a lesser game, but his team still went out and won. And I think we could possibly see that again. If Tyreek Hill is playing, the Dolphins win. If he isn't playing, I'm going to go with the New York Jets. Haven't won at Miami in a while. I think Zach Wilson continues. If he starts this week, because who knows what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. I'm expecting Zach to play. I think he's going to look good and solid once again. Really to cause some questions about who starts on Christmas Eve against Washington. I'm going to go with the New York Jets. If Tyreek Hill is not playing, I'm going to say it's by less than 7. But if Tyreek Hill is playing, I'm going to say it's the Miami Dolphins. Chiefs, Patriots, I think this could be a problem for the Chiefs offense. I think the Patriots defense is turning a corner, but the Patriots can't score. So give me the Chiefs to beat the Patriots. Titans and Texans, I think it's going to be a snooze fest. I think this is the worst 1 o'clock game. CJ Stroud likely out for this one with Davis Mills starting. I think this is going to cause a lot of problems. Will Levis, I think, looks great. Give me the Tennessee Titans at home to beat the Texans to really hinder their playoff chances. To the 4 o'clock sessions, Starting us off, we have the Niners, who I think are going to be another team that's playing in a possible trap game against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Niners. Their defense looks really good, and I think their offense is going to be hitting their stride. Washington against the Rams. I think this one's going to be a high-scoring affair. I would love to see Washington play spoiler, but I don't think that happens. Give me the Los Angeles Rams. Cowboys, Buffalo. I mean, I think this is a big prove yourself game. But how cold? How cold is it going to be this week in Buffalo? I know it's supposed to be bad weather here, back in my hometown. How bad is it in Buffalo? Let's just check this out. Oh boy. They're going to be slipping and sliding, boys. And guess what? Buffalo thrives in this weather. Give me the Buffalo Bills to beat the Dallas Cowboys in a low-scoring affair. Ravens, Jags, I don't know. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens, but expect Trevor Lawrence to have a pretty decent game. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. Ravens win. I'm going to say 36. No, I'll say 37-30. That'll be my prediction. Eagles, Seahawks. I don't even know if Geno Smith's going to start. So I like the Eagles in this one, but they are on a downward slide as well. People possibly calling them frauds. I think the Eagles bounce back. Give me them to beat the Seahawks. And I'll probably break it down once again on Monday, but like I said, it's going to be a Champions League episode, so I'm actually going to predict it right here. Give me the Eagles to beat the Seahawks. Finally, for today's episode, we are talking about a trade in the MLB from this week, and the trade was between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Rays, as Tyler Glasnow is being sent to the Dodgers in exchange for prospects. Glasnow, the 30-year-old, has been prone to some injuries. That was the big thing for me with this, was if he was going to get re-signed, how much is he making? Well, that contract is out. 5 years, $135 million. The 30-year-old Tyler Glasnow, the former Pirate and Ray, will probably have it's going to be his last big payday, is going to be with the blue and white of the Dodgers. Listen, I love Tyler Glasnow. I hate that he's a Dodger. I thought he would finish. I thought Tampa Bay would be able to spend money. It proves they can't. Listen, the Rays are in their own mess because they're trying to, part of them's, I think, the city is trying to call the St. Petersburg Rays, which makes no sense. And then the organization's like, hell no, we're not doing that. Yeah, big signing with Tyler Glasnow. 5 years, $135 million, keeping his future, rest of his career probably in LA for the most part. I think it's a great signing. I mean, they have a lot of young pitchers, though, I think, the Dodgers, and I think their pitching was one of the big weaknesses for them in the playoffs last year. Getting Ohtani for the future for him to hope he eventually comes back to the form that he was. Adding Glasnow, despite him being a little bit injury prone, I think this is the right move. Because I thought you could possibly be getting more, but I think it's a good contract. Well done by both Glasnow and the Dodgers to be able to get this done. Glasnow goes to a major contender now out on the West Coast, as he plays now for the blue. Goes from one team in the blue and white to another team in blue and white, as he goes from the Rays to the Dodgers. Interested to see how the Dodgers look rotation-wise entering this season. More to come on MLB free agency later, probably later in the month, even at this point. I think the hot stove's really going to start to tick up. Possibly we see Yamamoto sign soon. He's been linked to an abundance of teams recently. I've heard multiple different names on that note. But unfortunately, that's going to have to be for another time, as that is the end of today's episode of the Robbie Basel Show. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you see, make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to turn on post notifications, as well as check out the links in the description to an episode I was on last night. And if you want to go back to it, last week's Into the Stands episode, you won't see Into the Stands live for the next month. So if you want to check out the last episode, the link to that will also be in the description, as well as the last episode of this podcast. Like I said, I'm Robbie Basel saying so long. Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys Monday. Goodbye, everyone.